welcome to a Most Excellent 80s Movie Podcast on the Most Excellent Podcast Network. It's the podcast where a filmmaker and a comedian live their dream of chatting about the 80s movies they love, even when one of those turns out to be a gooey nightmare. This is Season 1, Episode 5, Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street, our movie selection from 1984.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
You could just see cuts happening.
What did that, Lieutenant?
I don't know.
Tina!
The coroner got to say.
He's in the jar and puking since he saw it.
They're gonna kill me for sure.
Did you do it?
There was somebody else there.
He was locked in a room with a girl who went in alive and came out in a rubber bag.
No one knows where it came from or who it will visit next.
Nancy? There's something wrong with you. You're imagining things.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Do you believe in the boogeyman?
No.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails,
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
no one will survive. From Wes Craven, director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, a new masterpiece in fantasy terror, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh.
Perfect for a Halloween episode. That's right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on Halloween.
Well, the person you just heard speaking is filmmaker Nathan Blackwell, whose Squishy Studios produces many hilarious...
Are we still introducing each other?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have to.
It's no, it's fine. Why don't we both introduce me?
Let's both introduce
And
Nathan.
I'm, of course, joined by Chrissy Lenz of National Comedy Theater, performer, director, improv extraordinaire.
That's right. Do you feel more awkward introducing yourself or introducing someone else?
There are various degrees of awkward.
Yes, of course, of course. All right, so Nightmare on Elm Street, you're summarizing this one. What do you have for us?
All right, so this summary I translated into Japanese and retranslated it via Google Translate into English.
Fantastic.
This might be my thing. In his dreams, fierce Freddy Krueger, a cruel, convulsive murderer, kills victims, is hunting some people. While trying to find out why
Some people. He's hunting some people.
While trying to find out why survivors are chosen, murderers will not lose the opportunity to kill as soon as they sleep.
That's very confusing. Okay, so this came out November 9th, 1984. And so I went to onthisday.com and looked up just everything that I thought was interesting that happened in 1984. So January
the day of
1st,
1984.
The day, on this day, which was 1984. One very long day.
When we were young, years were only...
They were just one day. They just flew by. February 3rd, the 10th Space Shuttle mission, Challenger 4, was launched. July 1st, the PG rating was introduced by the MPAA.
Oh.
Yeah. And on June...
Thank you, Temple of Doom.
Yeah. And June 2nd, Welcome to the Fun Zone, hosted by Dr. Demento, airs on NBC TV.
So what is your background and history with this movie?
When I was a kid, my mom was a travel agent, so she used to have to go out of town on like weekend-long like excursions where they send all the travel agents to whatever the hotel is that they're trying to sell, so that they can have a good time and be like, oh, I went to the Mirage. It's fabulous. You'll love it. And so whenever she was out of town, my dad would let us rent whatever we wanted. And so we always rented horror movies. And so every weekend my mom was gone, we'd do a marathon of like,
Oh, yeah.
every night,
Everything you're not
Elm
allowed
Street.
to do.
Yeah, every Friday the 13th, all the, I think I've seen all the Child Play movies.
Child Play.
Child's Play, yeah, like 100 times. Like, I'll just the one with like Macaulay Culkin where he's bad. You know that one, The Good Child or something like that. Yeah, so we just rent like whatever we thought looked like a really scary movie, and so that's how I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow. And I've seen them all, but I only really remember this one.
Yeah. So.
And I guess New Nightmare, which is just a revisiting of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, is that the one that he did when he came back to the franchise? Because he didn't do all the other ones.
Yeah, I think it must have been because he's in it, and it's like that one.
Oh yeah, that's where
they
that's the one where they do it kind of pseudo documentary style. And they break the style of it. That was really.
It's about the real girl idea. And like Freddy's really coming into a real life, and
yeah, that was a neat idea.
I think it was.
I've never seen the movie, but
you should see it. I think it's pretty cool.
That would be a good follow-up. So for me, this movie in particular has a special place.
Ooh, okay.
This was my first rated R movie.
Oh, how sweet.
Or my first like rated R horror movie. I don't know if I had watched don't think I had seen RoboCop or Terminator at this point. I think it's kind of, memory is a bit foggy. You just remember the trauma. You don't remember the years.
Yeah.
But so across the street, we had a sleepover it was my across the street friend.
That's the best time to do terrible things.
Exactly. No, it was like a birthday party, and so it was a sleepover, and so there was like 8 of us, and I was probably about 9. And I was a sheltered, quiet little kid, Although at this point I'd probably seen Temple of Doom, so I remember seeing that in the theater, and so man alive, I was so scared by this movie.
Were you?
Well, I mean, like I had never seen like a tenth of that amount of blood.
Oh, there's so much blood.
Oh, yeah. I think they said they went through 500 gallons of blood.
The blood budget was Tarantino level.
So I had never seen anything remote to that. And so it just broke my brain. But more than that was, my brother Logan, who was 2 years younger than me, he also watched it. And I mean, I say it broke my brain metaphorically. It broke his brain, like literally. Like he had nightmares for months.
Did he start keeping
it was a big
coffee
problem.
pot in his room, like under his?
Honestly, I didn't pay that much attention. Maybe.
Every time your mom steps out of the room, Logan pulls his like little coffee maker out from under
his little crucifix up at on the wall. So there were some. I don't know if I'd seen it all the way through in a long, long time. So there's still some specific scenes that just like were so burned into my brain.
Yeah. Some things you can't forget.
Mainly in the beginning, like, because, you see those in the beginning and then maybe you hide or you kind of, shut your eyes for the rest when you know it's coming. But yeah, some of the earlier stuff with just like, the bathtub was great, but also like just the girl flying up to the ceiling and getting slashed across, and some of those great sequences.
The face that comes out of the wall is real creepy.
Oh yeah.
That scared me.
But yeah, so I'd never seen anything like this, and I didn't have anything to compare it to, and one of the things I learned, like, children just see those kind of images and they don't filter it through like terrible acting.
Yeah. Terrible acting,
which kind of for us diffuses some of that
cheesiness of the effects. Yeah, well, I mean, you have to forgive a lot of that, especially when it is the 80s and you're watching it and this is what there is.
And I'm not saying that the whole thing is terrible acting. I'm saying that probably that one of my problems with rewatching this is that they start killing. Like, by the time they're done killing all the friends, it's like the most wooden actor left that's holding up the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And it, in my mind, like, the pace just starts to grind to a halt. As soon as it's just all on her. Yeah, as soon as it's just Nancy.
As soon as little tiny baby Johnny Depp's not there anymore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So looking, well, we'll get to that later.
Okay,
All right.
so the story starts.
Yes.
All right, so we've got these group of teenagers who
Well, the first thing you
allegedly all live on Elm Street. It's not
I forgot this, but you see him make the finger knives. Like, that's the first
right
thing
at the
you see
beginning.
in the little tiny.
right. So that's
box.
kind of like the flashback.
Yeah, and finger knives are dumb. That's a dumb killing tool. It's not efficient. What if you have to button your pants?
Well, you can take them. It's a glove, so you can take them off when you need to.
Yeah, but come on. Have you ever, like, worn gloves and had to, like, lived in a cold place and I'd be like, hold on. You take off the gloves, you're biting it with your teeth, and then you gotta, like, what if he has an itch? What if he sneezes? You're gonna put your own eye out. Finger knives are dumb, just as a
All right, it's a valid point.
method of killing.
Shall we continue?
No!
Okay, so we've got 4 teenagers. Yep. One, let's see, Tina is having a nightmare. And then we start to realize that they're starting to kind of share the same nightmares.
Yeah. And you know what? I really wish, like, there's that really cute scene at the beginning where they're like, they show up at school and Tina's like, I didn't even sleep. And she's talking about her dream. And one by one, they're all like, reluctantly revealing that they also had a nightmare.
Uh-huh.
And all I wish is that someone in my life now wanted to talk to me about my dreams.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I want to show up to all my friends and be like, I had the weirdest dream, and have them go, yeah, please tell me all about it. I want to hear the details.
Ah, the 80s.
Yeah.
So much more open to that.
And also, did you notice that in Tina's, is it Tina?
Yeah.
In her dream, there's a sheep running around?
What?
Do we think that that's like a Philip K. Dick reference? Like,
Look, there were several characters in that afterlife dream nightmare world, and Freddy was the most dominant. The sheep was the least dominant.
yeah. I was just like, do teenagers dream of boiler room sheep? ... I don't know. There wasn't anything else, like, except for, like, so there wasn't anything else, like, cliche dreamy, except for, like, when she steps into the stairs.
Yeah,
Instincts?
They didn't do anything that eventually became kind of super overt with like big fisheye lenses or strange slow motion. They kind of rode the line of, is this real? Is this not real? You know, by kind of filming it relatively normally. You know,
So everything kind of looked like it could be a dream, could be the nightmare.
right? And then they would have these kind of like unsettling dream imageries. You know, like feet going through through the
Sinking.
stairs, sinking through the stairs, or like trails of blood and her friend in a body bag, stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah.
That was great.
That was gross.
Yeah, I think that's a super effective way to do it. You know, like you get these things that stick in your mind, like the hand coming up between her legs in the bathwater.
Yeah.
Or like the face coming out of the wall, like those kind of concepts. It's that kind of stuff that like movies like Friday the 13th can't do because it exists in the real world, and then you're just kind of like different. It's just different. Like the kills are less imaginative. Like to me, like the most memorable moments in a nightmare are not the kills. It's the dream imagery that you get before that. You know, when the people are stuck or running or scared, and those kind of imageries before they get completely ridiculous with some of the sequels. You know, it's that kind of stuff that you do have in your nightmares.
Yeah.
You know,
especially like the parts where, and it happens pretty frequently, where she's trying to either wake herself up or get someone to wake her up.
Right.
Like those are my anxiety dreams where I'm like, you were supposed to do a thing and you let me down. Wake up, please.
You forgot to send this email.
Wake me up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. But and then there were some moments of that where it was grosser than I remember, like gooier than I remember. Like at one point he like cuts him. He 2 or 3 different points he like cuts into himself and it's green and gooey inside.
Yeah, and there's like maggots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was gross.
Yeah.
I don't like goo.
Yeah. So they realize that there's this bad guy, Freddy Krueger, this monster, demon, ghost. What is he?
It took them so long to realize that.
They're not really in a rush, you know?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
And also the parents who know the whole time are just like, stop telling me evidence. oh, stop, don't reveal to me any more details of something that I completely have a context for.
Yeah, it's not the kids are the only ones giving the weird wooden performances, you know.
Yeah, that mom is really a shame.
Yeah. The apple doesn't fall from the tree.
We're both just like slowly shaking
We're
our
just
head,
stunned. Yeah.
just like ugh.
Not to jump too far ahead, but there's this scene. Okay, no, we'll get to it later.
No,
we'll get to it.
it's not
No, it's like the very ending. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, they start, and then here's the great part, the best part of the movie.
Okay, say the best part of the movie, and then I have a question.
It's more of a section. It's at the point that the first kill happens, and
it's Tina, right?
yeah, and it's Tina. And so once that happens, suddenly the movie becomes visceral. It becomes, you know, like they realize they're being hunted. They can't go asleep. You know, everyone has to sleep, so they're fighting it.
But Nancy's the only one who realizes that.
Yeah.
She tries to convince everyone else not to sleep.
But that's great because you've got the stress of her trying to get everyone on the same page when she's starting to reel it, as she's kind of trying to do it all on her own. And then you've got her dealing with her dad, who's the police chief. And then you've got the mom who knows about the secrets about Freddy.
But who's a drunk.
Right. You've got those things in the background, so that's nice. That's giving us a lot to work with. But by the time, like, so in my mind, like, the best part of this movie, like, if you would have asked me, like, to rate this movie, like,
I'll ask you, and you want me to ask you?
Well, not yet. We'll get to that. If you ask me to rate it in, like, the first 30 minutes, it's like, it's firing on all cylinders. This is gonna be a high rating. So the problem is that as they kill more characters, and it's just then Nancy, and now the movie is just all about her, and it's a little rough. The movie starts to slow down because there's not as much. It's like, yeah, like the first half of the movie is just, it's
boom,
going,
boom, boom.
Yeah,
It is.
and then it starts to slow down.
Yeah, and I love all those elements that you're talking about where it's like nobody believes her. It's that teenage struggle of like she's obviously automatically invalid because she's just a teenager.
Yeah.
I loved, which I had completely forgotten about because there's like, you know, tongues coming out of phones and stuff like that, was that the frame of the boyfriend and the whole thing of like, well, you were the only one in there and now she's dead and you're kind of a sleaze, so we're going to totally convict you. And then he sort of hangs himself in the jail.
Right.
So all of those kills are sort of like...
Freddy makes it look like he hanged himself, yeah.
Yeah. But that part is like, I sort of wish it had been more like, it had been harder to believe her. Because by the time Johnny Depp gets killed...
Yeah, we've lost a lot of steam. Even before that, it was slowing kind of down.
Yeah.
And then...
Because there weren't enough teens to kill.
Yeah, there weren't enough...
There should have been 6 or 7 teens to kill.
There was a lot of things going on in the first half of the movie in terms of like, oh, why won't you believe me? This thing's happening. I'm discovering stuff about that.
But I wish, like, maybe it's a different movie if it goes more in that direction of, like, once it gets absurd, like you said, obviously no one's going to, these are cartoon murders, and everyone's going to be like, what's going on here? I wish it had sort of maybe stayed a little bit more real and been like, no, there could be an explanation.
Yeah,
maybe you are crazy.
Yeah, I definitely like how when Freddy hung, what's his name, Rod, in the prison cell.
Why the fuck was his name Rod? Who has the name? Nobody has that
Look,
name.
that dude looked like a Rod. Come on.
He did.
Oh, man.
Rod.
Yeah. So, yeah, when he was hung, I mean, that doesn't, I mean, but that it's rough because, I mean, you know, by hanging him, it made it super hard for Nancy to plead her case, and it made it more difficult. But some of the most memorable parts of the movie are just these insane kills.
Yeah.
You know, of like Johnny Depp, spoiler, gets sucked into the bed, and that's like a class. And then, he gets sucked into the bed, and then a geyser of blood
so much blood
blasts the ceiling.
So much blood. Way more blood than Johnny Depp has, even today.
Yeah. And I'd take that over, like, another hanging.
Yeah.
Boy, Freddy Krueger just hangs everyone.
He really just... it's all suicides.
Yeah.
He sucks the TV and everything else into...
Yeah.
Everything. All the bedclothes come down, and then everybody's like, oh, we can't even look, it's so gross.
What would have been like the boring version of Freddy Krueger killing everyone? Like
in a way that it was believably. So maybe he wraps the headphones. Johnny Depp always sleeps with the headphones on. He watches the TV and listens to records.
He sneaks some pills into his mouth.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then the headphone chorus, so it's like, oh, it just happened in his sleep.
Right.
Then you get to ask yourself, is she really crazy?
Yeah, I like the Geyser of Blood. That was good.
Okay, what about this? I'm pitching a reboot where we change
I've got
it.
a pitch for you as well.
Okay. So she's fucking crazy. She's just crazy and sleep deprived. She's killing all the people thinking that she's saving them.
Because she was sleep deprived. She was part of a sleep study. She's broken out. This is all one crazy Jacob's Ladder scenario.
Yes. She thinks these people are her friends.
Well, that's the thing. Not to rush to the ending, but it's not conclusive what was real and what wasn't, because you kind of have two endings.
Yeah.
In some ways.
But I also thought, watching it this time, she's pretty quick on the uptake. Like, her performance maybe isn't reflective of that. But as a character, she's immediately like, no, I got this.
Yeah. No, when it was
when
it was all four of them, I immediately locked in on her, and it's like, okay, cool.
She figures it out.
Yeah, we don't want the Tina. I don't want Tina to be the main character. I want Nancy to be the main character. Mm-hmm. But then, as soon as it was just her,
but she gets that book. Like, they're strolling. She's strolling with Johnny Depp, and he's like, "You have this book about anti-personnel devices and booby traps." She was already thinking that far ahead.
And then she gives one of the best lines in the movie: "I'm into survival."
Yes, I wrote that down too. The second best line of the movie,
right,
is the mom saying, "Maybe you don't think murder is serious."
So I would make a tie for that, which is, oh God, I look 20 years old.
Yeah, that was good too.
Okay, so here's my pitch to you.
Okay.
This is for a horror film.
Okay.
Something I can relate to. All right, so it's about a movie where the killer comes in to kill people, but they can't move because there's a cat asleep on their legs.
So the cat is the hero?
The cat is the crisis, the problem. There's all these people who have cats asleep on their legs, and they can't move.
I shouldn't have just taken a sip of Coke. That was a mistake.
Okay, so there was one part. I feel like they missed an opportunity.
Okay, and I have two pretty serious questions.
Okay.
All right,
I'll answer them.
No, yes, tell me your missed opportunity.
Okay, so remember when Rod was when they had Rod's funeral, it was just like what, a day after Tina's funeral?
Must have been
maybe 2 days.
Yeah, it's unclear. She says she's been awake for 7 days.
Right.
So
even if it was 3 days, you don't have like a funeral. You wait a couple days, usually on the weekends or whenever, to have a funeral.
You have to order that stuff. They don't have it in stock.
It could have been, it's like, and then Rod was also kind of accused, question mark, with Tina's murder. Like, what if they had both funerals on the same day?
I had that. Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
And then you had like Tina's parents
are really mad
at the other funeral.
Yeah, they're like, hey, this is the kid who killed our daughter.
Yeah.
You're upstaging her funeral.
Two competing funerals right across of each other. And then the priests trying to talk louder over each other.
That priest was also really judgy. He was really like, oh, let's not judge not, lest ye be judged, but live by the sword, Rod, all I'm saying.
Rod was a douche. Can we all agree? Can I get an amen?
Now let's not judge.
Yeah. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Judge.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I do have to say, like, speaking of how quickly the funeral happened, I was really impressed by the mom who just like slides so quickly downhill into this, like, maybe she has a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. Oh no, she is now.
She has a drinking solution.
She's in PJs all day.
Uh-huh.
She's just smoking in the kitchen, and like Nancy goes to school in the morning, and the mom's just all boozy, like, you don't need to go to school, everything's fine. By the time Nancy gets home from school, which let's say is maybe 7 hours, she's got bars up on the window. So she is like drunk as a skunk, just smoking in her living room, but still has the presence. Saw
an advertisement on TV, picked up the phone, ordered bars on the windows.
They came out. It was a prefab job. Boom, bars on the window. Yeah, I was impressed. 80s ladies getting it done. But
impressive.
Also, they
go
to the sleep study.
Were those bars on? So at the very end, we'll get to that. Were those bars on the windows then too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I also really was impressed with the mom because when they go to the sleep study, she's not only allowed to be back in the back room with the doctor as he's reading the results, she's smoking in there.
If like an airplane, looks like I picked a long week to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah, exactly. That should be a drinking game rule of all 80s movies. When someone is smoking someplace and you're just like shocked that they're allowed in there, and then nobody's like, gross.
Yeah.
That's the
Shock.
hallmark.
Yeah,
of a really
that's a new segment. No, what we should do is we should do an episode of over all the movies of Shocked where they were allowed to, where it was okay to smoke.
Okay to smoke. Yeah, I know there's a moment in Crocodile Dundee where he's like smoking in an elevator.
That'll
like,
be our season wrap up. We'll have various awards.
Yes, I love it. I'm into it. Okay, so here are my questions. And again, I'm going to try and make this more of like a real world thing because Rod couldn't see Freddy. He never saw Freddy. Nancy and Tina are the only ones who see Freddy. I have a theory.
Okay.
Is that because Nancy and Tina's parents actively participated in the murder? And maybe Rod and Johnny Depp's parents
Glenn
didn't?
Right.
So they
Yeah,
couldn't
we don't know
see him?
Yeah, we're not let inside of Glenn's dream. We only see from the outside. Like he goes to sleep and then we just see.
And he never sees the Freddy that Nancy and Tina get to see and experience.
Right.
So is that maybe like you can only see him if he's revenging on you?
Right.
No?
I guess they don't give us the opportunity because we're outside of Rod and Glenn's dreams when they're being attacked.
But they're also not like thrashing about wildly fighting. They're just asleep and then they get killed.
Yeah.
And they don't we just see the cloth like winding around his neck.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Something that occurred to me. And then my other question is, so the story goes, drunk mom reveals
Drunk mom.
Fred Krueger was the janitor of the school. Am I making that up or is that true? He's the janitor? I know that's true in the remake.
Right. We'll go with it. Let's continue.
Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
He's killed. They say he killed 20 kids.
Yeah. It was originally
hasn't
he was
anyone in the
originally
neighborhood
like a child molester and that was just a little too hard for 1980s.
And that he definitely is a child molester in the update.
Right.
But everyone on Elm Street just never talks about the 20 child murders anymore.
That's a lot of kids.
Because that's a lot of kids. That had to have been like their little brothers and sisters.
Now,
or their older brothers and sisters.
It can't have just been on Elm Street. It had to have been like the city. Because, I mean, if it was just one...
Even more people would be talking about it.
Can you imagine if it was just one street?
They're just 20 dead kids.
Jeez, there's only 10 houses. It's 2 kids per house.
Don't you remember your older brothers, Stephen and James?
Stephen, James, and Robert?
We have the pictures all over. Don't you remember they were horrifically murdered? No?
Right.
You don't remember?
Don't you remember your friends across the street and their 2 brothers?
You know, Glenn had a sister,
right.
Jessica. She was a year old.
And Tina's 2 sisters.
Yeah, and because they're like, us parents got together, so this was in Nancy's lifetime.
Right. Maybe it was not all 20 at a time. It could have been over, we don't know how old he was when he died.
Okay.
Maybe that's the imagery he wants to project. I mean, he could have been a little fatter.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a lot of kids.
I'm just saying that's a lot of kids. Yeah. All right.
Where do you find the energy?
That's a lot to get done. And I do have to say, we're doing this podcast now, and I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I don't know how Nancy does it.
Yeah. God,
and also she's like, wake me up in 20 minutes, Dad, and then she sets up all these booby traps. That's a 40-minute job.
Yeah. Especially if you haven't set up booby traps of that nature before.
Where'd she find a sledgehammer?
Where does she find the time?
Everybody.
It is tough. It is really tough to mount a sledgehammer to the ceiling.
Yeah. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I'm like a 5'10" dude, and I can't keep my arms above my head for more than a couple minutes, without holding anything.
She just has access to all of that improvised explosive device materials.
Well, she is into survival.
She's into survival.
She's a natural.
Also, like, I love the idea that Freddy Krueger writes his name in his hat in case he loses it.
Right. If lost, reward.
Return to
For
child
reward.
murderer Fred Krueger.
If lost and child, please return to. That's weird.
All right. Okay, what else? Oh, did you notice that in her basement where she's setting up the booby traps, there is a...
Why does she keep the glove?
Yeah.
Why does drunk mom keep
the
Freddy
glove.
Krueger's
She's keeping
glove?
evidence
Yeah.
of her
Is it-
own murder because
Yeah.
she is also a murderer. She's responsible for...
Well, here's the thing they don't tell you about murders. Everyone loves trophies.
They do. They gotta keep them.
Look, even if you're killing to save your kids, you gotta... I mean...
How are you gonna relive it?
All I got was this crummy t-shirt. Look, I'm not gonna lie, she still likes to relive the high.
Yeah. She does. She needs to. And they've also got a tapestry downstairs of dogs playing poker. But in the end, in ending 2, or I guess whatever, when she just wakes up in the morning, because she's just, you have no power over me. Works in Labyrinth.
Uh-huh.
Works in Nightmare on Elm Street. You have no power over me, Freddy. Then she goes into the morning, and the mom's like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna stop drinking. I don't need to anymore.
Oh, look, it's your resurrected friends.
Yes.
So spoilers. There's the ending is a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's 100% because I know that there was some re-editing, there was some debate over the ending between Wes Craven and Bob Shea of New Line in terms of how they wanted it to end. Like Wes wanted a succinct ending and New Line wanted it to end so they could have sequels. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of get a very ambiguous, not totally sure what is real and what isn't real.
Fairly unsatisfying.
Right. Well, in its corner, to its credit, I guess, it does leave it very like a dream to where you're really not sure which one is real, you know? But yeah, it is kind of unsatisfying for people who
Want to know. And you don't know, does the second one doesn't like pick up with Nancy. We don't find Nancy. I have no idea. I really have no clue. Yeah, I did like, though, I thought it was cool that the hood of the car was like the Freddy sweater.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was neat.
Yeah.
And I just love the idea that the mom's going to wake up one day and be like, I'm not going to drink anymore, sweetie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, the little tag felt more like it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, if for me, the ending was as we saw it, and then the very last bit was a nightmare, almost like ending with a dream sequence, rather than the reverse of having a dream and then waking up and it's something different.
So, like, what if she had, like, we would just seen a moment of her, like, sitting up in bed after that, and we would have maybe, I don't know.
It does unsettle you, though, which is good.
But I was also unsettled that Johnny Depp was the one who was like, no, I read this book about dream things, and it says all you have to do is tell it has no power over you, and, like, that was the right
That
thing.
never works.
I mean, I don't know. Did it?
I don't know. I guess it did work.
Did it?
Who am I to judge?
I don't know.
So what were your favorite parts then? Favorite visuals. I liked some of the nightmare imagery, like seeing the friend in a body bag. That was great.
That was, a lot of it though seemed haunted housey to me. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a moment where the dad runs in and they follow the fire footsteps, and he's like he's burning the mom to death, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what happens? And then she turns into like a ghostly looking thing that floats down through the bed, and then the bed is solid and she's disappeared. That seemed to me like something you'd see.
Almost kind of like he canceled out his curse by killing her.
Right. Yeah, but
that was a great effect where it was a pretty seamless effect.
She came down and through the bed. But that seemed like something you'd see in a haunted house.
I really liked the not to go back to the body bag scene, but the whole idea of like, no, I've got to stay awake, can't fall asleep, and then seeing, oh yeah, you could fall asleep during the day at school, and suddenly like it's not just at night in your bed that you're in trouble; it can be anywhere now.
Yeah, I love that. And also, the woman who is her teacher is the lady from all of the Sinister movies.
Really?
I don't know the actress's name, but she's like the main lady who sees the ghost in all the Sinister movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's her,
Uh-huh.
which I thought was fun. Yeah, I mean, I guess my favorite parts are the parts that I thought really were scary, which is like the hand coming up in the tub,
Oh, yeah.
falling asleep in the tub, Very
Getting sucked
dangerous.
down into it, like seeing like the
Yes.
the
That part I
opening.
liked.
Yeah, that was good.
That part I liked, and then the face coming out of the wall I thought was real scary.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like that's the kind of stuff that they can't do with like Friday the 13th is that real genuine nightmare imagery, you know.
Okay, so
Okay, one last comment.
please.
So-
and then I found some fun stuff on Wikipedia.
All right. So when the dad, John Saxon, who
Which
was
one
in
was
Enter
his
the
name?
Dragon.
Ah.
That's it. Watch his reaction when the mom is being sucked down into hell. It's almost like he's like, oh no, Magnum PI is getting in trouble. Like, it's so minimal. And that's where you think it's almost, is this also a dream? Because of the performance of the actor, it's like, he's slightly concerned, squinting his eyes just a bit. And as soon as she's gone, he just leaves.
Well, they had a strained relationship.
Look, honey, we had an open relationship. You'll know. When you get older, you'll understand.
Marriage isn't easy. It's really complex.
Marriage.
Okay, so are you ready for facts?
Begin.
Facts in the corner. Wait, I don't know what to call it. Just facts. Okay, so I read on Wikipedia that Wes Craven was inspired by an article he read about people who had like experienced war and like in their PTSD couldn't sleep and then like died from not sleeping. So I don't know. Fun fact? Unfun fact? Unfun fact.
Sobering fact.
Yes. And then, okay, I read that Johnny Depp,
Introducing Johnny Depp.
introducing baby Johnny Depp. So Johnny Depp went to the audition with his friend, Jackie Earle Haley, and he got the part of Glenn instead of Jackie Earle Haley, who in 2010 played Freddy. And then he, Wes Craven also considered casting Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, and Jennifer Grey, but went with Heather Langenkamp because she seemed more real.
That's probably true.
And also in consideration to...
You know what? Real people can't act either.
And before he chose Johnny Depp, the other actors Wes Craven was considering were Charlie Sheen, John Cusack, Kiefer Sutherland, Nicolas Cage, and C. Thomas Howell. But he also wanted them to seem more like real kids. So he picked the realest
Who
kid
also
we
can't
ever
act.
knew. Johnny Depp. Okay, those are my fun facts.
Man, if John Cusack played Rod, that would have been great.
Well, it's something I love about 80s horror movies is that they are the origin story of so many of our favorite actors.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
now
the 90s.
30
with Jennifer
years
Aniston.
ago, and
Yeah.
so it's like these tiny kids are now top movie stars.
We can't get rid of them.
Yeah,
no
we
matter
can't.
how hard we try. We have to have Johnny Depp in all of our Harry Potter movies,
Yeah.
no matter how much we don't want it.
So yeah, this movie saved New Line Cinema.
Oh,
It was called the New Line Cinema for a while. Was called the house that Freddy built, and then later to be saved by Lord of the Rings.
I found something that said this movie was in the. Oh, here it is. AFI 100 Years, 100 Thrills. It was nominated. AFI's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains. Freddy Krueger was the number 40 villain.
Oh yeah. So
I feel like that's a little high.
for me, I definitely would put Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise above Halloween and Friday the 13th. For me, there's just more going on. Whereas like Friday the 13th, he's just kind of like an automaton, unstoppable automaton.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so Freddy versus Jason, I was definitely in Camp Freddy.
I would think I was Camp Jason. We might have to have a
That's all right.
agree to disagree.
It makes a good podcast.
This is what ends our friendship.
If we agreed about everything, there'd be no podcast.
That's true. And then it was also AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quotes. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Which I thought there was a lot more of in the movie than there turns out being. Like, I thought they'd sing the whole song for you, but that must be in a later one.
Yeah, that was a good touch, the children
Little
singing.
girls,
Yeah.
Children are terrifying. Just always.
If there's one thing we hope you take home from this podcast, is that children are terrifying.
Children are terrifying.
Okay, so how does this hold up? How
Okay.
does it hold up as a movie for you? On revisiting it compared to today's movies, how does this, what's your rating? 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
These are Freddy fingers. How many Freddy fingers?
Use my dumb finger knives, which
Yeah.
are a terrible tool. So much not as effective as machete. I give it
Okay,
7 finger knives
right.
because I love it as a movie, but I don't think it's scary.
It's tough. So, okay, so if you would have asked me like 30, 40 minutes in, 9 out of 10.
9 finger knives.
Yeah, and by the time the movie's over, it's like 6.5.
Yeah.
I'll go with 7. We'll do
Yeah, 7.
I'll round it up to 7.
I think you should watch it if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
but not to be scared.
It's
I think it only would scare 80s kids. Because I was thinking, like, if I showed it to my kids, would they be scared? And I don't know.
if they're young kids, still be scared by
Mm-hmm.
this for sure, because I think some of the imagery is still really strong.
Let's put it to the test. Let's make my 7-year-old watch it.
Yes, let's make this an add-on, forcing children to watch horror
We'll
films.
see what happens.
Oh, we've got a podcast spin-off.
Yeah. It's called
We should add on the segment,
How Chrissy Loses Custody.
right?
I'm not really going to do that, by the way. Okay, so what's your... did you see the 2010 remake?
No.
It's just like a darker, grittier version. I remember seeing it. I don't remember feeling any way about it.
It doesn't seem like it was embraced very well.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, it's 2010. We're going to make everything darker and grittier. I don't know.
Right.
It needs to be silly, I think. It's about dreams. I don't know.
Dream Warriors. Da, 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 Dream Warriors.
All right, so what's your deep cut recommendation?
Okay, so my deep cut recommendation is Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
So
I
season
was not expecting
right.
that.
So it's there's a great episode, Lawnmower Dog, season 1, where it's kind of their parody of
Lawnmower Man?
yeah. So it is kind of Inception meets Nightmare on Elm Street, to where they go layers and layers into dreams, but there's a Freddy Krueger, a copyright safe Freddy Krueger character who they literally say, almost like who is this character? I don't know. It seems like a copyright safe version of some sort of a movie. And yeah, so Scary Terry, and he's got
Scary Terry.
yeah,
All right.
and he's got a catchphrase and everything. But yeah, so I would recommend watching episode 2 of season 1 of Rick and Morty with Scary Terry, a copyright safe version of Freddy Krueger. But it's a great way of mixing. If you ever wanted to see Doc Brown team up or fight Freddy Krueger in a Inception scenario,
Isn't that
That's-
what we all want to see?
well, there you go. It's
All
only
right.
24 minutes.
I'm going to recommend It Follows.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Yes,
Did you like it?
I did.
He says
Dot,
with
dot, dot.
hesitation.
It was. I felt like the first 3 quarters was amazing, and then the last quarter it felt like
Fizzled out.
I still didn't know what the rules. It felt like the rules were kind of changing still. You
Well,
know?
and maybe that's just the way of it with horror movies. Like the first 2/3 are scary, and then it's like, well, we don't really know how this ends. Yeah. So It Follows is the story of a sexually transmitted ghost.
Yes,
Yeah, where if you have
I'm safe.
if you have sex with someone that you have the ghost, it passes it on to them. And to get rid of it, they have to have sex with someone else, I guess, is the way that it works. But basically, this ghost, or we don't know if it's a ghost, we think it's a ghost, follows
Some sort of supernatural being.
something that, basically, it just follows you, like Jason, at a walking pace, never faster. It doesn't run, it can't drive a car, it just walks. Apparently, it can walk through the ocean, but it follows you. And if it catches up to you, it turns you inside out.
It never stops except for the times that it does, and that's when I get upset when it violates its own rules.
I didn't think it ever stopped. They tried to get away from it, but it can look like whoever it wants, and it just tries to walk up to you. So never sleep again is what.
Yeah,
The lesson is.
that's a good one. I like that.
But if it
Good
like
recommendation.
if you sleep with someone and it gets them, then it comes for then it just goes back up the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're never really safe. You always have to be looking and be like, is anyone walking slowly towards me? All right. And anything else that we missed? No? Anything else in your notes?
So no, that's good on me. So what is our 1985 movie for next week?
We are going to watch, and it's actually in 2 weeks, so
2 weeks. Okay,
next
in 2 weeks.
week.
You edit that.
No.
Here, I'll do it. I'll take it again. Okay, ready? So what is our 1985 movie for next episode?
We are watching The Breakfast Club.
Sound effect.
Bum, 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 bum.
Woohoo! I'm excited.
I am too. I particularly love John Hughes.
Yeah, it's time. It's the 80s. It's we hit Spielberg. We got John Carpenter. So I'm satisfied there. But it's time we got to some John Hughes.
I need me some Molly Ringwald.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We might have our first guest.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Except what if we don't?
Then we edit. It's an edit point.
Okay.
I got a text saying he can do it. So
Yay! So we may have a guest. Tune in to find
we don't
out.
need to include this part again.
All right. As always, you can find us online at mostexcellentpod.com. Join our Facebook group, the Most Excellent Facebook group. I think you can just search it. I don't know. We're on Instagram at Most Excellent Pod. Like, rate, review, share, thumbs up, subscribe, all of that stuff. You can find Nathan at
Ooh, Squishy Studios.
It's just Squishy Studios. It's not Squishy Studios.
Ooh, Squishy Studios.
I
Yeah,
think you should
correct.
add that.
It is Squishy Studios. Instagram, Facebook. That's my production company. Rate, review, like, subscribe. And then, Chrissy, where can they find you?
You can find me at National Comedy Theater, NCT Phoenix, nctphoenix.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. Social is media.
Visit her place of business and look at her in
Yeah.
person.
And you can be like, no, you're not really as funny. Or, I don't know, say I'm funnier.
You don't look like your voice sounds.
Yeah. Or you can tell me that you prefer Freddy, that you love E.T., and that you hate Kurt Russell. I don't know.
No.
Tell me all your things that you
Don't
disagree
tell
with
me that.
about. No, never tell me that, because it's not true. All right. As always on Most Excellent 80s Movie Podcast, we encourage you to be excellent to each other and never sleep again.
That's scary.
Was it scary? Good.